Like, how many of you have felt stressed out in your job? And that's how great videos are made. So oftentimes, this goes back to our stress levels. If you're a video editor, or if you see video editors out there, you see a lot of memes like this where most of the time spent during the editing process is actually spent crying. And it turns out that ONET did a study that basically showed that the stress level for film and video editors is 99 out of 100, and it surpasses anesthesiologists, acute care nurses, and psychiatric nurses. So, can AI help with editing stress? I think the answer is
introduce our next speaker. She is Vidya Narayanan. Okay. And Vidya is a co-founder of Rizzle, the #1 AI-assisted video creation platform for YouTubers and podcasters. So any influencers or budding influencers out there probably want to be really interested in this one. Using generative AI, Rizzle automates the video editing process. Vidya is an ex-Google engineering leader who has built video technologies used by tens of millions of creators to create over 500 million videos. Welcome, Vidya.
Okay, good afternoon. I think we're getting to that time of the day where some of you are questioning your life choices and wondering if this is what you want to be doing on a Saturday afternoon after lunch. So I don't blame you. I'm sure there's a lot of information that has come your way throughout the day. So we're going to take it easy for the next 20 minutes. We're just going to watch a few videos, talk about a few things. It's almost going to be like having a YouTube party, right? So let's think about that. But before I talk about how complex video is, by a show of hands, how many of you think you have a stressful job? Like, how many of you have felt stressed out in your job? A fair amount. Like, I think I saw maybe 20% of the room, try to put their hands up. This will come back in a few slides, so just hang on to that information if you felt stressful about your job. We'll talk about it in a minute. But in general, video is a complex process. There's at least 20 different steps in making a video, and takes over 20 hours of planning, filming, editing to make as little as a 5-minute video. So video is complex. My focus today is going to be on post-production and how AI can help with post-production processes. But before I start talking about post-production, I just want to observe a few things about the overall video creation process, right? So I'm going to play this video here, 18 seconds of somewhat nerdy entertainment.
You know when a phrase is so well known that you don't even need to say the whole thing because it's just implied through common knowledge? Like, when in Rome, you don't need to say do what the Romans do because everybody knows that's what comes next. Same with if the shoe fits, or it takes a village. The second clause is unnecessary because it's completely understood. This particular kind of sentence is called an anapododon, and I think they're very interesting because people will tell you they're grammatically incorrect.
So if you're Adam, aka etymology nerd on YouTube, and you have a Harvard linguistics degree and you can speak 500 words a minute, and you can look into the camera as if you're in your face and holding your shoulders and shaking you, teaching you what anapododon is. It took me a while to pronounce that, by the way. I still don't think I got it right. So if that's the kind of creator you are, you can probably create your videos reasonably fast. I mean, there's still a good bit of planning to figure out what you want to talk about. But once you do that, at 500 words a minute, you can get some attention, right? But if you're someone like Jenny Hoyos or Justin Flom, and these guys are, super well-known creators. Jenny averages over 10 million views for every video that she creates. Justin averages like hundreds of millions of views, and so on and so forth. There's a ton of planning and pre-production work that goes into it. Jenny maintains, spreadsheets of hundreds of different ideas. She watches and does a lot of competitive research on other people's channels. And so it's a very, very tedious, time-consuming process. So when you talk about pre-production, there's a ton of effort that goes into coming up with an idea, doing research on what you actually want to talk about, figuring out the first 3 seconds, the first 5 seconds, the first 30 seconds, which are all extremely important to make sure that your video gets watched. And then, you know, writing a script and a storyboard and et cetera, et cetera. So of course, AI has a role to play in all this. There's been platforms like vidIQ that have been, you know, pre-AI helping creators with ideation and, you know, keyword research and strategy and so on and so forth. Our friends at Spotter, headed by Evo, is doing some good work in bringing AI into the process of pre-production. So with that said, now I'm going to switch to post-production, which is what I'm going to spend most of my time on. And I'm going to play a video, and please excuse the topic. I really want you to pay attention to the video and the visuals itself, and not so much, I mean, I'm not here to talk politics. I'm not going to actually talk about the topic I'm about to play, but let's just watch the visuals.
This fight between Israel and one of their biggest regional enemies, Hezbollah. Hezbollah is one of the biggest armed groups in the world that isn't a nation's military. They have tens of thousands of trained soldiers and hundreds of thousands of missiles and rockets capable of reaching targets all across Israel. This threat led Israel to conduct a massive set of attacks against Hezbollah.
This large explosion was seen near Beirut's International Airport,
in which they killed almost all of the group's top leaders, weakening Hezbollah immensely, followed by a full-on invasion by Israeli troops to denigrate this group even further. This has been a massive escalation that is now spilling over into this entire region. And to understand how we got here, you really have to understand where Hezbollah came from and what this group's fierce 40-year struggle tells us about how the modern Middle East came together and how it's now coming apart. The geopolitics of the Middle East is complicated and sensitive, and there's a lot going on right now, which makes navigating the news pretty difficult.
Master storyteller. He is one of the best documentary producers out there. His YouTube videos are extremely compelling, takes weeks to edit. And what you saw in that approximately 30-second clip that I played was a bunch of different editing techniques that have come together to create a cinematic and compelling experience. Things like, you know, audio mixing that allows what in the professional world they call J cuts and L cuts, where the audio plays before the scene starts playing, or the audio kind of continues into the next scene, bringing and overlapping sound effects into the mix, along with the right kind of, you know, modulation in the volume of the background music that is getting played, a map that is being rendered with beautiful animations, and a mask on the map that plays a video inside one of the countries to set the context. It's just absolute masterpiece in editing. And to create a video like this, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of effort. Takes, you know, tens of hours. Takes, you know, the approximate YouTube average is about 1 to 2 hours for every minute of output video that is produced. So if you're making a 10-minute video, you're at least spending 10 to 20 hours on that video. And for videos like Johnny Harris's, it takes, I think he has a team of maybe 10 to 15 people that works on it for a couple of weeks before a video comes out. So first of all, they're, you know, once they're filming their what is called A-roll content, which is the main content, this may be the speaker content that he's talking, and you have to prepare that footage for editing. You have to work on the audio and pick all the sound effects and the different, you know, clean up the voiceover, do all the mixing that you need to do, come up with the different graphics, and for each type of media that you see there, whether it's a map or a statistic or a chart or a piece of editorial footage or stock media, you have to figure out like how you're going to present that, how you're going to animate that, if there's any text, what kind of text graphics and effects you're going to create, and sometimes and then when all of that is done, you're worrying about, you know, color gradation and whether there's visual continuity and audio continuity, and that's how great videos are made, right? So this is like a fairly complex process before you get a video that then results in millions of views on a platform like YouTube. So oftentimes, this goes back to our stress levels. If you're a video editor, or if you see video editors out there, you see a lot of memes like this where most of the time spent during the editing process is actually spent crying. And there's a lot of Reddit posts about how, fatigue and anxiety and full-blown panic attacks and burnout. And it turns out that ONET did a study that basically showed that the stress level for film and video editors is 99 out of 100. And it surpasses anesthesiologists, acute care nurses, and psychiatric nurses. Now, I think this is a little bit dramatic, but I think we're making the point that it's a pretty stressful job. Like it takes a lot, in order to make a great video. So, can AI help with editing stress? I think the answer is yes. It's not fully there today yet, but I think it's going to get there. And let's explore some of these things. So I'm going to present to you some of the state-of-the-art in where we are today and where we think we can go from here. Of course, like Sora and Kling and Runway, and there's so many of these generative video. We just saw Deepak talk about Gen Studio, which probably works with Firefly, which is Adobe's version of this, right? So there's a lot of generative video models out there. The estimated time today for a normal YouTuber to use generative video models to generate their so-called B-roll is approximately 3 to 4 days. Haris Sultan here, experimented with this. So in this video, he actually created all of his B-roll content exclusively with generative AI and took about 4 days to finish editing that video. Play a little bit of it.
They used to say that the West is not responsible for our failures. It's not the West's fault that our countries are corrupt, that we don't know how to build bridges or that we don't know how to manufacture cars.
So far, so good. If I look at the last 2 images that were shown here, I've never been to Pakistan, but I kind of can imagine and relate to that, only because I'm from India and I can totally see streets or, the villages kind of looking the way they did. And then if we play another clip.
To the best of my knowledge, there are no parallel Chinese or Indian societies running in the UK or America. We only have the good, harmless elements of their cultures, such as Chinese New Year or Diwali.
Now when I come to this and I look at this and I say, that's not Diwali as I know it. Nobody I know, kind of walks around with fire in their hands. That's not how we celebrate Diwali. So certainly, so where I'm coming to is, it's really difficult for any one person to even assess the quality of the outputs of some of the generative video outputs that you're getting. And so for this to be adopted widely, we're going to need a lot of what they call cognitive architectures and workflow optimizations in order for regular people to be able to use generative AI for generative video specifically and feel good about the outputs that they're producing and know that they're doing the right thing. And it's a pretty hard thing in terms of any one person pulling this off today. So we'll see a lot of, I think the next 3, 4, 5 years is going to see a lot of work in cognitive architecture where you simplify this, you make a process of a complex chain of prompting that you can do to these models accessible to the regular creative person, right? There's a lot that is yet to come in this area. And then another area where there is a lot of AI and a lot of work going on now is how to create short-form video content from long videos. So if you have a 2-hour podcast, what can you do with it? How can you produce, clips? And particularly in this area, there's more than like 24 platforms that claim to do clipping from long-form videos. But there's more than clipping that you can do with AI. So you can actually create teasers, you can create highlights, clips. Each one of these are very distinct. A teaser, and then we'll just take a teaser, for example, and we'll delve a little bit into it. So you guys have probably seen teasers as part of long-form podcasts on YouTube. Just never realized that it is called a teaser. So it's like a movie trailer that gives you the best parts of that video up front so that they can get to watch it. Otherwise, no one wants to watch a 2-hour conversation between no matter who they are. That's really difficult. So let's look at this particular teaser here for a second.
Cancer, violence, aggression, obesity, stress. If If you want to fix all your complex problems, well, this is controversial, but the vast majority of the evidence suggests that...
Daniel Lieberman, a Harvard professor who uses the information of our evolutionary past
to understand the health crisis we are in today and educate people on how to live a long, healthy life.
So that teaser actually goes on for about 2 minutes because, it's a 1.5-hour podcast. And so in order to get you hooked into the rest of it. But the way it starts, now everybody wants to know what he's talking about. He's basically claiming that all of us are going to die because of some kind of a morbid disease. And so obviously we want to know, what to do to prevent that. So now we've all, sitting at the edge of our chair saying, I want to actually watch this video because I want to know what that's what a teaser is about. And if you look at how he ends it,
there's a lot to take in. Is there an actionable conclusion that I can do today that is going to reduce my chances of getting one of these mismatched diseases?
Yes, I think there's two. The first is...
After that, this channel is called Diary of the CEO. And after that, he talks about subscribing to his channel. Imagine if he actually started with, please subscribe to my channel. Everybody will be gone from there. So now he has created an absolute anticipation, just a masterpiece in sort of how he ends that teaser, because now you have to watch the rest of the video to really know what he was getting at, right? And that's the purpose of a teaser. Now, can AI do this? Absolutely. Rizzle actually creates teasers. When fed a long podcast, for example, it can put together not quite at that quality just yet. What you watched was still a super masterpiece where, you're taking specific trigger words, you're adding in visual effects and sound effects and music and all of that to bring it together in a way that is dramatic and creating a dramatic ending to it and all of that. It's coming, though. So if a human does it, which is today this process is entirely human, a 1.5-hour podcast will, you have to watch it at least 3 times to mark up the areas that are relatively suitable for a teaser. And so you're looking at least 6 to 7 hours in order to put together a 30-second to a 2-minute teaser. That's the amount of work you have to do, and the people who are listening to it over and over again are like just mind-numbing experience by the time, that goes back to the stress levels, right? So this area is definitely going to be helped by AI. It's not very far off. I think it's coming pretty soon. Now, the next class of videos is the faceless video content where, people create a script, feed it into a system, and the system helps you put the video together with, let's say, stock media content or editorial media footage and so on and so forth. There's about half a dozen platforms that kind of do something like this. Rizzle has access to editorial content as well as creative content, being able to tackle a wide different areas like from sports to news and politics and everything else under the sun. So this is an area where I would say the quality of the outputs today are, while they are passable, they're nowhere close to the Johnny Harris masterpiece that I showed you in the beginning. So there's still a lot of different things that need to come together in order to make that quality feasible. And then lastly, thumbnails, which, in the world of YouTube, your first impression is the thumbnail. Whether you want to watch a video or not is determined by that. It's another area where, there's a lot of spot solutions that are available. Canva, Adobe Express, all of these things have templates for YouTube thumbnail creation. Rizzle takes it one step further. If you feed in a video, it would automatically pick out the action frames and automatically remove the background and put you into, certain thumbnail choices, which you can then A/B test and, achieve results from. So that brings me to kind of the end of my presentation. It's still early. It's starting to get there. I think most of the video editing assistants that we have with AI today are still catering only to aspiring creators, which means that the outputs are mediocre to, low to medium quality outputs. They're not quite at the level that brings in millions and millions of views and gets you glued to the video itself. But I think in the next 12 to 18 months, we will see a dramatic improvement that's going to take us there. I think I'm excited for that future. I'm part of building it, so I'm excited and very confident that we're going to get there. That's it.